Hey artists, it's Miss Kit and I'm back with another little lesson for you. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use a can of soup, a stapler, and a remote control to make art. Using these simple materials or other things you can find around the house, I'm going to show you how to use everyday items to make abstract art. Let's take a look at what else you need. You will need paper, a permanent marker, water, watercolor, oil pastels, or crayons, and then the items that you decide to trace. I'm choosing a soup can, a stapler, or a remote control, but you can choose any items that you find around the house. Just be mindful that the marker can get a bit on the items, so don't choose anything that could be ruined if it gets a little bit of marker on it. Notice how I'm tracing the objects and overlapping the shapes on the paper. Each outline edge of the item is going to leave a different shape. So you can do lots of different items. Just our goal is to have lots of different lines and shapes that we can now add and fill with color and pattern. Using your oil pastels or crayons, find different shapes that you've created to create pattern inside. Use wiggly lines, straight lines, triangles, circles, squares, all the different lines, shapes, and colors you can use to build pattern. We're making abstract art. Abstract art means art that doesn't look like anything. It doesn't resemble a person, a landscape, a scene, an animal, or an object. It is simply a combination of the raw elements of art. I'm also going to leave some of the shapes blank and color some of them in with my oil pastel. Notice that I'm choosing small shapes to color in, so I'm not spending so much time coloring in shapes as the watercolor can do that for me. I did use white, which is going to be interesting to see what happens when I put the watercolor on top. Because the oil pastels or crayons that you're using are made from wax and oil, it pushes away the watercolor, allowing the oil pastel to show through the watercolor. Just be mindful that the watercolor is not too saturated and that you are using enough water to move the paint to allow that oil pastel or crayon to show through instead of just covering it. It's up to you, artists. You decide how you want to add the watercolor paint. You can paint the individual shapes. You can paint the entire piece of art one color. It's up to you how you add that layer of wash and watercolor on top. And there you go. You've created your very own work of abstract art using line shapes and colors as well as everyday items. Who knew a can of soup, a remote controller, and a stapler could create art?